By the late 1980s, Nissan had a score to settle. Decades earlier, the original Skyline GT-R, the C10 and C110 generations, had built a genuine racing reputation in Japan through the late 1960s and early 1970s, only for the global oil crisis to force Nissan to abandon the program entirely. The GT-R name went quiet for years, a performance badge with nothing to prove it. Nissan hadn't forgotten that unfinished business, and by the time it decided to bring the GT-R back, it wasn't interested in a gentle comeback. The category Nissan set its sights on was Group A touring car racing, which by the late 1980s had become the dominant global proving ground for production-based performance. In Europe and Australia, Group A racing was ruled by two very different but equally respected machines, the turbocharged Ford Sierra RS500 and the lighter, more agile BMW M3. These cars had spent years building fierce rivalries and dedicated fan bases, especially in Australia's fiercely competitive Australian Touring Car Championship. Nissan saw an opening, and, just as importantly, a chance to make a statement on the international stage. The brief for the new GT-R, internally, was ruthless in its simplicity: win Group A everywhere it raced. Not compete respectably. Not build a loyal following over several seasons. Win immediately, and win completely. That meant the R32 wasn't designed as a road car later adapted for racing, the way many manufacturers approached homologation classes. It was conceived from the outset as a race car, carefully wrapped in a road-legal shell just enough to satisfy Group A's production-based rules. Every major system on the R32 Skyline GT-R was engineered around that single racing priority, with road-going comfort and manufacturing convenience treated as secondary concerns. Nissan's engineers weren't simply trying to build a car that could compete with the Sierra and the M3 within Group A's existing framework. They were trying to find every mathematical advantage the rulebook allowed, and then build a car that exploited every one of them simultaneously. That approach started with the engine choice itself. Group A used a turbo-equivalency formula, a mathematical system designed to fairly compare turbocharged engines against larger naturally aspirated ones by applying a multiplier to a turbo engine's actual displacement. Nissan's engineers didn't just pick an engine and hope it fit reasonably within that formula. They worked backward from the formula itself, choosing a very specific engine displacement calculated to land at exactly the most favorable point the equivalency math allowed. Layered on top of that calculated engine choice came something no rival Group A car had, a sophisticated all-wheel drive system, adapted from technology Nissan had been developing for road cars, now built to put every bit of that engine's power down onto the racetrack far more effectively than any rear-wheel drive rival possibly could. When the R32 Skyline GT-R finally arrived on track in 1990, it didn't just compete with the Sierra and the M3. Within a remarkably short period, it made an entire era of touring car racing look obsolete. Rival teams, drivers, and eventually entire racing series would spend the next several years trying to figure out how to stop a car that had been engineered, from its very first blueprint, to make stopping it as difficult as mathematically possible.